right, we're going to wait for them to stop yelling. And if you hear that yelling from, here on out, that's just our roommates. It's football Sunday. We got football on in the back, but this is the Ahead of the Count podcast. I'm Mitchell Stockwell. Welcome to the first official episode. Before I introduce my guest, I would just like to introduce my roommates and partners, in the podcast. Andrew and CJ, say what's up.
Hey, I'm CJ.
I'm Andrew. We're here just filming this podcast. NFL Sunday, Nick Sunday.
Nickelodeon Sunday. Yes, this has been in the works for some time now. I'm really excited to get into it. Before I introduce my guest, I'd just like to say a few things about him. We've been really good friends since high school. I met him, playing travel baseball. Both him and I were pitchers. After we graduated from high school, we went on two completely different routes, and he comes to visit us in college. His name's Blake Loubier. He's a professional minor league baseball player, or what would you like to call yourself?
I think I'm going to go with a professional student athlete for this podcast. I feel like that's going to be really appropriate for what we talk about. So,
yeah, I like that. I like that intro too. Yeah. All right, so Blake Loubier, the professional student athlete. Let's get into it. So let's hear your story.
So, again, name's Blake Loubier. Most of my friends call me Louby.
Yeah, we were thinking about calling this the Loubycast.
Yeah, that's perfect.
So, like your name is Louby.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
much.
I feel like goes great with my personality too, because it just kind of, I don't know. I feel like
Louby.
Blake isn't really suitable. But anyway, so name's Blake Loubier, Louby again. I am a right-handed pitcher for the Boston Red Sox. I was drafted in 2019. I was 13th round pick. I played baseball at Oviedo High School. Graduated from there. I was originally committed to go to Columbia for baseball, and then my senior year, I decommitted and committed to Wake Forest, which we'll get into later. I'm sure there'll be plenty of storytelling, but just to get the basics out of the way first. Committed to Wake Forest, then got drafted by the Red Sox, and I've been playing professionally ever since. Up in Tallahassee right now, visiting my friends. Off-season time, watching football, just hanging out, having great conversation.
Yeah, so as I said earlier, Blake and I, we met playing travel baseball.
Yeah. You should get into exactly, how we met, what the team was, that type of thing.
Yes, it was the Orlando Scorpions, and
Shout out.
Yeah, we were both pitcher onlys. So, we wouldn't see each other a lot,
Yeah.
but throughout the summer, we would always kind of meet up with each other at games or whatever and just have some really, really good conversations as far as, life and everything like that in those dugouts. So, us being here is kind of a byproduct of that.
Actually, I have a good story to say about, first meeting Mitchell is when I first met all of the people on that Scorpions team, I wanted to make sure I didn't forget what position that they played because I thought that was really important. So in my phone, Mitchell's name is Mitchell-PO to make sure that I knew when I first met him that I knew that he was a pitcher because I thought it'd be important, to make sure that I knew what position my friends were and stuff. So
It's still Mitchell P.O.?
It's actually still is Mitchell-PO.
Wow.
You guys can see that right there, Mitchell-PO.
Wow.
Been that ever since.
And, rightfully so. Mine
Probably should still say that way.
Mine for him's been Louby this entire time.
Yeah, exactly.
Only Louby.
Yeah.
It's never changed. So, yeah, it's been a few years, and, we kind of understood that we were on two completely different paths, but that never really kind of, made it different or whatever. We've always been really, really good friends. We've been in contact. But, I really appreciate you being on our first episode.
Yeah.
I think that we couldn't really kick it off with anybody better than Louby.
Yeah.
So
I think that Ahead in the Count is a great name for a podcast, by the way. I don't know if we've talked about that yet, but I'm curious as to where that came from because I have some of my own thoughts of where it came from, but I'm not 100% sure. So I'd like to maybe start that off with you guys about how you came up with the idea since, it's the first one. Maybe the world should know how you came up with the name as well.
So it's a reference to baseball,
Yeah,
obviously.
of course.
So we all had some sort of experience in baseball, and then we have a lot of friends that play baseball as well. And as a pitcher, Ahead of the Count is kind of like a you always got to be
You're
ahead
of the
count.
game.
You got to be ahead of the
You're
count.
better than you're in that situation. You are in a better position than the hitter, in which case you're better than what might be possible, but in terms of being behind the count if you're a pitcher.
Exactly, and I guess, concluding question that we have with everybody. So we're going to come back to this later in the conversation.
Okay.
And
Sorry if I got to
No,
something
no,
that
no.
you want to talk about later.
That's perfectly fine because
the intro would be great.
no, exactly. This is perfect because, this is you asking where, we all got it, and everybody else wants to know that too. So it's a perfect segue.
Yeah.
But so taking that mentality to life of being ahead of the count is kind of a good question for people that are our age but are just ahead of everybody, or they're doing something to make them above average.
They stand out in a group.
Correct. So, I think that we're very blessed to have friends that are doing cool things.
Exactly.
You being one of them, you're ahead of the count.
Yeah, you're pretty far ahead of the count.
One could say.
What would you say the count is in my life? What do you think I'm?
I'm looking at 0-2.
0-2.
0-2.
0-2.
For those of you that don't know baseball, I would assume that most people that tune in would.
It means I'm down bad.
Yeah.
It means that you're way ahead.
It means that the hitter is completely behind. They have 2 strikes on them, and anything could be coming.
Exactly. Anything could come.
The pitcher is in complete control. They can do whatever they want. They kind of can mess up a couple times, kind of, you want to think about it metaphorically.
Calculated risk.
The reason why I love this question so much is because, yeah, it's a baseball question, but all like the responses can be derived and like used in just like real life situations.
It really just means that you're in a better position to succeed.
Exactly. I think it's all about success.
It's cool because there's a lot of different perspectives with that, and as we go on through this podcast, I'd like to get a lot of different answers. So, I guess going through this, kind of think about what you want to say.
Yeah, I feel like the more people you have on that, are ahead in the count, they're going to be able to give more different insights depending on the direction that the viewers or the listeners are going on. Somebody who is on a path with sports would probably, benefit more from something like this. Whereas, if you have on somebody who is musically talented, ahead in the count that way, which is obviously completely possible, this metaphor of being ahead in the count just kind of stands to that is, you walk into a job interview, are you ahead of those around you? Are you 0-2? Are you 1-2? Are you 2-2? Are you 3-0? Are you way behind? I feel like that's kind of what it comes down to in all of this. The goal is to, get a high-paying job, and most college students, I would say, come out of this with a job that they can, live their life off of. And I think it just kind of determines if you get that job of, how far ahead in the count are you,
The big thing with being ahead of the count, too, that I want to kind of take away from people like you is you're doing something to kind of follow your dream. You are pursuing a passion that you're pursuing something that you've wanted to pursue for a very, very long time, I mean, how long has it been for you?
I think baseball started for me when I was around 4 or 5. T-ball, I think that starts for most people about 4 or 5 years old. You get into it. I was just moving over to Oviedo when I first started playing baseball, and I actually was supposed to play Oviedo Babe Ruth, and my mom messed up and accidentally signed me up for Little League, so I played an extra year of T-ball. So there was a year where I had a little bit of a confidence boost, as a 5-year-old. Not that it mattered, but, and then I stuck with Oviedo all through young baseball career, and then went to Oviedo High School. And as I said in my precursor to everything was that I was originally committed to Columbia and then another school and then, the Red Sox. So that's not very typical. I don't know. Probably most people that listen to this won't be familiar with recruiting in terms of baseball in high school, but, maybe you are. But I was committed to Columbia as a junior. I was kind of focused on more of school. I was looking at places that would be beneficial to me in terms of getting a job after college. Baseball was just going to kind of be the way to get into a school, maybe pay for it a little bit. Just wanted to find a place that would benefit me on an academic level and a professional level that also would at the same time be able to play baseball and have some fun. So Columbia seemed like that answer. I actually went for the first time. I was coming home from Cooperstown, which if you played baseball growing up, is the place you go when you're 12. So my brother was getting done with that, and we took a stop at Columbia, stopped in, saw the school, loved it, loved the city vibe. I always bring it up when I talk about Columbia because that's a huge decision in terms of itself of I'm going to decide to live in New York City, So as I said, I was committed there. Then my senior year, this is where the story gets good, especially with Mitchell because we have a common friend. Starting the year, first game of the season against another kid who I will shout out, of course, because he's a Florida State Seminole. His name is Bryce Hubbard. He's a pitcher from Windermere High School.
Shout out Bryce Hubbard.
Shout out.
That's the boy.
Yeah, very, very, very good pitcher. Hope to see big things from him this year at Florida State.
We will see big
I
things
was
from
about
him.
to say, I don't even need to say hope. I already know he will.
Yeah, we will. We'll see big things from him. And
Also, maybe
I like
see
the
him on
pitching
the
staff too. The whole pitching staff.
Podcast, maybe eventually. I feel like that would
I
be
mean,
a
this is
really
like the second time we've shouted Bryce Hubbard out on the podcast, so I think it kind of has to
Actually,
like happen.
So we've done some practice recording. If you're listening to this, you would have only heard the first shout out, but the second shout out is in another one with another one of my buddies. It's kind of a practice run, but we really like the episode, so that's gonna be like 2 or 3 or whatever. But look out for that, Bryce. If you're listening to this, hit me up, dude. Let's get that podcast. But anyway, going back to your story, let's.
Yeah. So Bryce is pitching, and it's the first game of the season. And Bryce is a huge prospect in high school. So he's got tons of MLB teams there to watch him. He's already committed to Florida State at the time, big ACC school. Probably looking at the draft. So he's pitching in the first game, and I was starting on the home team, so I head out there first. And I'm a big kid, 6'5", 6'6". Nobody can see me right now except these three, so I'm gonna go.
Yeah, let's hear your kind of stat line.
Yeah, I would say right now I'm 6'6", 210.
What about like season weight though?
Back then I was probably 6'5", 190.
So I'm saying like okay, going into this next season.
But the goal.
Yeah,
The goal is 6'5", 215 of muscle.
You're gonna lose an inch.
Well, sometimes I give myself the inch. Sometimes I don't. It's just I maybe don't really have it, but sometimes on my baseball.
You're always
card-
wearing spikes though. Like you're
point.
6'7", if any.
Good point. Yeah. All right. So we'll call it 6'6". So I go out there, big kid, 6'6". We'll call it 6'6". Walk out there. Obviously, you get some attention being a big kid. They haven't seen you, but being a 6'6" kid on the pitcher's mound tends to get some attention. So the scouts looked up and they saw me throwing and they liked what they saw, so they put their guns up. And coming into this game, I was probably around 88 to 89 miles an hour in terms of fastball velocity, which as a senior is good. It's probably respectable for a Ivy League school. Definitely better than most, I would say, in terms of Ivy League school. But that was the fastest, and I come out there first inning, and I'm 92, 94, which is something that is a huge deal as a pitcher to see velo jumps over a long period of time, because it's a real easy indicator of hard work and determination in terms of arm care and arm strength. So that was really nice to see. But so the first inning I come out and throw hard. I didn't know it at the time. I'm letting you know this now. At the time, I'm just kind of throwing. I see the scouts there holding their cameras up. I'm a little bit confused. I've never had anything like this before happen. And I get off the mound and I pitch the first 3 innings. I just kind of ignored it because it was a big game, first game of the season. Really good team. We were playing Windermere. Bryce was pitching amazing too. Shout out to him in that game. I'm pretty sure he kept us scoreless for 3. But then it started raining. So we both had to sit down for an hour, and we both couldn't come out there. So we both had to end up, pitching 3 innings. That was it. But I ended up learning after that rain delay that I was, throwing as hard as I was. And my dad came up to me, and he was, like, overjoyed. And I was just kind of like, oh, man, like, this guy's really pumped up about something. And he's like, Blake, like, this is about to change a lot. Your life is going to be really different from here on out in terms of baseball. And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, dude, you hit 94. I was like, oh, my God, amazing. And he's like, yeah, dude, it's gonna create a lot of opportunity for you. Like, just make sure you take it in stride. And it was a really big experience, a really big change from then on out. I had to really mature to, talk to all these guys that are MLB scouts. It's different than talking to, your buddies. You got to really show professionalism with them. And I mean, they're all great guys, but it's obviously very nerve-wracking to have them come to games. And so I ended up playing the whole season. I pitched pretty good. I wasn't wouldn't say it was the best season ever, but I definitely had successes at times. And Red Sox were extremely interested team. I pitched, I want to say the district championship game or district semifinals, and they came and watched, and I had a good game. And the next day at school, they called me and they're like, "Hey, we're having a draft showcase up in Georgia. Would you mind coming to it?" And it was just kind of at a like inconvenient time. I think I was supposed to throw in a game like a couple days before something, and I relayed that information to them, and they're like, "All right, well, we really want to get you up there so we can put eyes on you. Would you mind coming up to Fenway to throw?" And I forgot to precursor this with, I'm a huge Red Sox fan. Grew up diehard. Family's from South Portland, Maine. Shout out South Portland, which is a big Red Sox town because they have a minor league team there. Also, just being in the Northeast is big Red Sox. So, again, grew up a Red Sox fan. So they call me and they're like, "Hey, you want to throw at Fenway?" And obviously, I said yes to that. That was the easiest yes. That was the easiest yes of, decisions that were needing to be made in that past. But which we'll get to later. But yeah. So I went up to Fenway and got on the mound and honestly have thought about it a lot how that day went, considering it's kind of a blur. Pitching on that mound was unbelievable, probably one of the most epic days of my life. But I look back on it and I've realized how nervous I should have been, how important that day was to me. But at the time, I think I was so starstruck by the field itself and what was going on that I just kind of forgot to be nervous. And thank God I did, because apparently that was the whole reason I got drafted, just because of how I threw that day. People felt like I had a lot of control, and they were really happy. So the draft rolled around a couple weeks later. Ended up getting drafted in the 13th round by the Sox. Was decommitted from Columbia, committed to Wake Forest University, which great program for pitchers. They have an amazing pitching lab there. Looking forward to going to school there. Month went by of talking with the Red Sox, organizing a contract. I ended up getting an agent to help me out with all of that, and ended up signing July 2019. And I've been with the Red Sox ever since. Obviously, this year was a little strange due to COVID, so I've only played 1 year. I played my first year in rookie ball in Fort Myers, and now I'm excited for this upcoming year. I'm going to try to make it to our A-ball team in Salem, Virginia. So that's the plan for this year.
Yeah, going kind of off that, you introduced yourself as a professional student athlete.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people don't get that you can do school in the minor leagues.
Mm-hmm.
There is that option if it's presented to you, and with your commitment to like an Ivy League school and everything like that, it kind of brought you an opportunity that a lot of people aren't going to be very familiar with. So just kind of go into what it's like going to school as a professional athlete.
Yeah. Really important for me, obviously, when I decided to go to Columbia, was because of school, and didn't want to lose that, that drive when I signed. So the Red Sox opened up an opportunity for me to take classes at Northeastern University, which is a school actually very, very close to Fenway Park in Boston. It's only a couple minutes up the street. It's a city school, really nice. I take online classes through them. They have a deal with the MLB and makes it super easy to sign up, so it was no hassle for them. And the Red Sox will pay for classes on top of the signing bonus, in terms of paying for tuition, paying for books, because obviously that would be something that would be beneficial to both them and I. Being educated, can only benefit. So that could be another option if baseball, works out or doesn't. Kind of want to do the sustainability law, whether or not baseball happens or not. I feel like it's just kind of a personal endeavor that I'm going to put myself into and just, try to work for it. But yeah, so the professional student athlete, very possible if you have the determination and work ethic for it.
And it's cool to hear that you can do both, and that the MLB actually, wants that.
Yeah. Really, really nice of them to set up that program, because I feel like a lot of guys who are in minor league baseball, I don't know if you know the percentages, but it's like 1% of minor league baseball players will make a professional debut. So it's very hard to make it in the MLB, and there's obviously a lot of minor league baseball players that don't. So giving them an opportunity like this to benefit them for the long run is absolutely huge, and would advise anybody who is thinking about doing it to do it. Any minor league baseball player listening to this podcast, definitely suggest taking classes in your free time. I know you can do it. I know that you have the time. I have the time.
How much time do you have right now? You have a lot of time, right?
Thankfully, yes. That is see, that's why I don't understand when kids will come to me and be like, "Oh, how do you have time for school? You're a professional baseball player." I mean, you really have a lot of time in the off season, whether or not you want to admit it or not, and you want to just sit there and do nothing. But I'm somebody who kind of feels like all their time needs to be spent on something productive, and I think I kind of live my life that way of being a productive person. So when I'm sitting around not doing anything, I kind of feel a little bit anxious and need to feel like I need to get out there and do something. So for me, I feel like school just kind of keeps me in check in that way, and feel like it's really beneficial for me to keep me on a guided path, a steady road, not goofing off and doing things I shouldn't be. As I've gotten through this first real off season, even though I didn't have a real season this year, kind of realized that I have a lot more free time than maybe I previously thought I was going to have. And on top of the school and the baseball training, I just feel like recently I've come to take up more of that free time with more, not just sitting around playing video games and whatnot, because this free time is going to be some of the only time that I have during the year to do what I want to do. Because during a baseball season, especially minor leagues, it's kind of a struggle for 5 months straight of being busy, traveling. Minor league baseball is a hassle sometimes in terms of traveling, because you get buses and you got long road trips, and you're done playing at 12 and you're bussing until 6 the next morning to wake up and play the next day. So that's going to be that time of the year, that season is going to be a time where I probably don't have, the ability to do the things that I can do during this off season. And this off season, I've really tried to take advantage of that, where I went on vacation, went to places that I've never seen before, went hiking, just really started to take advantage of my time in a better way than I think I previously have.
Do you consider baseball like a job?
Yeah, so it's kind of a thought that I started to have here too recently. I think this is a great question to have for all athletes, because it isn't a job until it is. As weird as that may sound, it's something you do for fun, and it's something you do with your buddies and hang out. And high school baseball, as CJ and Mitch you didn't play baseball, right, Andrew?
I play baseball, t-ball,
Yeah.
same as you.
Yeah.
I played all the way up through high school. I played in high school.
Okay.
Not all 4 years though.
Yeah. So.
But yeah.
T-ball?
Yeah, that's when I started t-ball.
Oh,
no, because
okay.
he was talking about t-ball
Alright,
earlier.
Yeah, I did bring up
I was
t-ball earlier.
yeah, t-ball is
Right.
sick.
Okay, alright.
So when baseball becomes the way that you obtain, wealth, and it puts a lot more pressure on you, and it makes the game seem a little less enjoyable than it used to be. But thankfully, that thought went away pretty fast for me, because that actually happens to a lot of minor league baseball players. They get there and they feel that way, and it kind of puts them in a bad spot. But yeah, it's pretty fun playing professionally and, playing in high school. And I'm sure it's really fun playing in the MLB. I have no idea, but I would assume that it's probably a great time. But when you're just playing to play with your buddies, that's probably as good as it gets. And this off season, I really I've tried to make it a priority to go out there and see my mom's friends' kids play, or, family friends' kids play, to where you see the enjoyment that they get out of the game, not because that they're going to get $5,000 after, but because they love the fact that they just got a base hit. And I think that seeing that in their eyes is really helpful to me, because it makes me remember why I started playing it, why I, enjoyed it as a kid. And I think that now, if I take that view of baseball into this next season, I feel like it might pay dividends, because I'll be viewing it in a different way.
That's always really inspiring for somebody, and it's cool what that could potentially do for that person who's just starting up and want some inspiration, they could be the next big thing too. And
I have a great story about that, actually. The whole, seeing somebody at a young age who's, in that position. My really good friend, her uncle, was a pitcher for the Padres and among other teams, Astros, has a World Series with the Astros. Anyway, came into our 5th grade class to talk about, being an MLB baseball player for some sort of, thing that the school was doing. And I went up into him and I talked to him, and I was, obviously starstruck because it was the first time I'd really met an MLB baseball player, and he talked to me and just gave me some advice about baseball and whatnot. We had a, family friend, or I had a friend connection, so it wasn't like he was a complete stranger. But ended up finding out later that his agent was my dad's agent when he played. So another weird connection there. Then I don't know if you remember from earlier, but my agent that I ended up signing was that agent that signed my dad and Luke. Sorry, I definitely should be saying his name right now. His name's Luke Gregerson. Shout out to Luke.
wait, is that your agent?
No, Luke Gregerson is the MLB player. Agent Tom
Okay.
O'Connell.
Tom O'Connell.
Tom O'Connell. Agent of a lot of Orlando baseball players.
So what's it like having an agent?
Yeah.
What's that kind of
What does it
dynamic
entail?
like?
Yeah.
Yeah, what does that kind of bring?
A lot of
to-
golf.
Is that kind of where
Which
you
is
started?
big.
Is that where you started playing golf?
Yes.
Really? He
Yeah.
got
Yeah, definitely, because the way that you get out there and meet all of his other, clients is by going out there and playing golf with them. So, as a young kid, I'm like, okay, I want to meet these MLB players and, guys that are coming up in the organization, learn from them best I can. And
Are you good at golf?
I have definitely gotten better. I would not say that I'm good. I'm probably like a 15 to 20 handicap. Shooting under 90 is a good day. That's the goal, shooting under 90. But I'm definitely, working towards getting better. Definitely.
That's better than me.
As I was saying, the golf. So I want to go out there. So obviously I want to get better. And he's a big golfer, my agent, and he comes and plays with all the pitchers around here. And so we ended up playing with Luke, and he asked me if I wanted to play. And I've not played golf in forever. And I went out there, and we played around us 3, and I just hit the ball. They were the ones that were really playing. It was only my first time. And after, I was like, hey, like, I don't know if you remember this, but like you met me when I was in 5th grade. And he's like, what? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, you remember coming into like this classroom and talking to us? And I was like, and he was like, oh my God, yes. And I was like, yeah. So yeah, I just, we obviously introduced who I was and what I was doing. He was like, oh, like giving me tons of advice about golf, baseball, whatever. And he was like, so like, do you need a throwing partner for this off season? And I was like, yeah, like that'd be awesome. He's like, all right, sweet. Like, let's throw. So me and him threw for the whole entire off season that year.
Your agent or who like?
Sorry, Luke.
Luke, okay.
Luke is the former MLB player. Played with the Astros. He was with the Cardinals when we started throwing, and then he was a free agent, and he was trying to make a comeback. So he helped me a lot in my first year of becoming a pro. And I've come to play a lot of golf since then because of all that. Because now I'm playing with other guys that are sticking around, trying to meet more people. I think something that is super important, not only in baseball but in life, is networking. And I feel like something that's really helped me throughout my career, not only in baseball but in life, has been the amount of network that I've had through friends. I feel like that I try to be friendly with almost everyone I meet so that I can network, and I think that it goes a long way, not only in baseball, meeting new people and gaining their knowledge and experiences, but in all walks of life, just really trying to be friendly to all to build those relationships, that in the long run could, reap a lot of fruit. So
Louby, you got any other hobbies? Do you do anything else for fun?
Dude, that was gonna be my other question, because he was talking about time and that like you don't want to play like video games that much. Like, is there anything that you've like, picked up or that like you've been doing?
What's your most fun thing to do?
most fun, I love watching movies. I'd say watching movies is probably the biggest thing that I do, which may not seem like it's super productive, but you actually would be surprised how much you can learn from watching movies.
Like movies over shows, or you watch like shows?
I've definitely watched shows. I've watched a lot of Netflix shows, a lot of shows on other streaming platforms, but I would say that movies are probably my number one go-to. I also have just started. I think because of the whole love of movies, I grew up. I read a lot of books in elementary school and middle school, and I strayed away from it maybe my junior and sophomore year because, as you know, everybody does. Everyone kind of just thinks that reading's stupid when you're in high school. But if you're listening to this, don't listen to that because that's a false narrative. Reading is by far the best thing you can do. Anybody that's successful can tell you that reading is a vital part because it's really, really helpful for the mind to just sit there and focus on what you're consuming. And I personally am a big fiction lover. I don't read a ton of nonfiction. I like stories and I was a big Percy Jackson fan in middle school and Divergent, Maze Runner, those types of books. Love those growing up. And then in high school I got more into like, they make you read Great Gatsby, which is a great book. And then I read this book called The Alchemist, which is a really, really good read. If anybody is listening, wants to find a great book, it's short, really teaches you about like it's all about your destiny, what your purpose in life is, like what you're working for. Really, really great book. And then recently I started to get into like more mythology type. I've started reading Lord of the Rings, which is probably the biggest book series of all time. I know it's the most sold copies other than the Bible, which is kind of crazy. But I finished The Hobbit my first week or my first month back from camp this year, and then I'm reading The Fellowship of the Ring right now, which is a absolutely amazing book so far. Love it. Obviously, I've seen the movies countless times. One of my favorites. Big Lord of the Rings fan. Definitely into watching movies. The question was hobbies, so I got off into a tangent about Lord of the Rings here.
Any other hobbies?
Yeah. Definitely watching movies and reading have definitely become. I was really into ping pong for a long time in high school, and I was like convinced that I wanted to like try to do something with that. I don't know why, but I was convinced that I was gonna do something with ping pong anyway.
Are you really good at ping pong?
I probably would beat everybody in this apartment.
No.
What about CJ?
Is CJ good?
Yeah, I'm really good at ping
How
pong.
good at ping pong?
Pretty good at ping
If you played like a group of friends, would you beat every friend most of the time? Like, is there a rare occurrence that you meet somebody that is better than you at ping pong? Because that's how it is for me. I've only met like 2 people that have beaten me at ping pong before. Like, people will come up to me.
These are fighting words.
I have.
No, I know. No, ping pong is serious. So the thing for me is like I probably wouldn't beat you with like crappy paddles. Like, I'd have to have my paddle from home. Or get a new one. But actually, see, I don't have it anymore because I last year went to the Dominican Republic, which was an absolutely crazy experience for that Red Sox.
You brought your paddle?
I brought my paddle. I brought my paddle everywhere for a long time because there would be occurrences like what were happening right here where somebody claims that they're good at ping pong, and I'm like, I brought my paddle. You want to play? Like, I've met other people who have done that, and they whooped my ass. Like that happens. But usually what happens is I whoop their ass.
So you said that you were in the Dominican Republic.
Yeah.
How was that? What was that like?
Yeah. So actually, like when you think about it, like it's probably what you think about. It's like shacks and like people just like running down the side of the road. There's just no stop signs, like no street lights. It's crazy. Places like that still exist, and you realize that these kids that come and play with you, you're like, wow, does he not know the customs? Like, they just didn't grow up with any of the foundations we don't know. So I mean, really beneficial for me because I think it made me realize where these kids were coming from, and I think it gave me a lot better understanding of the things that they went through to get where they're at. So
that was probably like a really good like team bonding thing too.
Oh, yeah.
Like you.
So obviously the 6 of us guys that went down there bonded a lot because we were the only guys, but at the same time you meet all of these Latino guys that are young, and I mean, not only are they exceptionally good at baseball, but they are 15 and 16 years old. I mean, hopefully eventually one day they're contributing with you on the Sox because they're your teammates too, so that was really, really great part as well.
Going back to kind of what we were talking about earlier, you were saying that you grew up a Red Sox fan and everything like that. Kind of go into that and like what you were thinking when the Red Sox drafted you and everything, just kind of how that played out. Because we were talking about this last night, and it almost just kind of seemed like it was meant to be. It was meant to be that you're just kind of like drafted by the Red Sox,
So, like Mitch said, my parents are from South Portland, Maine, which is a town in the southern eastern part of Maine. That's a pretty nice town. Anyway, grew up Red Sox fans. I was born in Orlando because that's where they were living after going to UCF. So I was not originally from the Northeast, but I grew up a Red Sox fan, having parents that were Red Sox fans. If you are a Red Sox or a diehard, baseball fan, that like you kind of just are what your parents are if you're, big into it. So first trip I ever took was my parents took me on a flight to Boston, and we went to Fenway when I was 1 year old. I have a picture of it. It's fire. And then, I've been to Fenway maybe 4 or 5 times after that, and ended up going to Tropicana, I'd say probably like 5 or 6 times, to see them play. So I've definitely seen my fair share of Red Sox games. Couple little stories in there. One of the times that I went to Tropicana to see the Red Sox play, we stayed at the hotel called the Vinoy, which, if the Tampa area is like a really nice hotel. It's where the players stay. It's like right next to the stadium, and we were staying there. And the players had just come back from their game, and we were coming back from the game as well. And I was walking in, and the bus pulled up right when I was walking in. So I kind of just walked in next to all the MLB players, all the Red Sox players, and I look over, and David Price is there, and Dustin Pedroia. It was crazy because I'm just a fan at this point. I think I was like 16, and I was just dumbfounded by all these MLB players. And then later in the night, we're sitting down eating dinner, and Chris Sale is over eating a pizza, a couple tables over, and I'm, picture myself, Red Sox fan, big Chris Sale fan at the time. I walk over, and I obviously didn't want to impede on his dinner or anything, so I didn't want to walk over there and just be like, oh my gosh, I'm a Red Sox fan, whatever. So I waited until he got up. You aren't really supposed to go up to these guys, they probably wasn't the right thing to do, but I was a really big fan, and I just really wanted to go up to him because we kind of had a connection. So I went up to Chris, and I was like, hey, Chris, my name's Blake Loubier. Like, my head baseball coach from Oviedo, his name's Jason Foss. He was your catcher at FGCU. I don't know if you remember him at all, but I know I played for the Scorpions. I know you played for them as well. Just want to introduce myself. He's like, oh, man, nice to meet you, bro. And then a security guard came up and got me away from him. But, lo and behold, 2 years later, I was down in Fort Myers, playing rookie ball. And Chris is from Fort Myers, and he was, having surgery. And he comes up one day, and I walk into the facility, and he was sitting on the med table next to me. And I'm like, oh, my gosh, this is the same guy that I just, walked up to as a fan and got taken by security. And now we're sitting in the same room getting our arms. That's crazy, man. And so yeah, that was a really cool experience that I had, kind of right away was meeting Chris. And honestly, that first time was kind of a big one because it was the first time that I'd seen an MLB player that I was a fan of, and it kind of helped me out a lot now because, I see them all the time during spring training. It was like they were walking around all the time, and you do realize that they are just, guys just like us. They were probably in college, hanging out, doing the same things that we are. They're all the same. So it's really, really nice to see that when you meet guys because it makes you feel like you can be there one day, not that they're just some person that you watch on TV and not just some figment of your imagination. It's really nice knowing that they're just guys too. So I think that was a really big thing I took away from the first couple months of professional baseball was, you want to be on that level, act like you need to be on that level, like they're not so far away from where you're at. So thought that was a really, really good message.
So you've just been like, nonchalantly hanging out with Chris Sale.
I wouldn't say we're definitely not friends. He probably doesn't even know who I am anymore. So I don't want to make that seem as if we're friends or anything like that. He probably doesn't know who I am, but obviously, you see the guys walking around. I remember the second day of spring training, Big Papi came into the weight room and just walked by me. I did not say a word to him. I just stared kind of. I was like, wow, that's Big Papi just walking right by me, like in the same room. And I've definitely talked to fair share of guys that are older, and you just like hear stories about, you know, the MLB guys and what they're like, and it's really cool to hear the stories like about them doing, you know, the things that we all do, like just, you know, hanging out and just being bros.
Have you been talking to like a lot of the older minor leaguers around you?
Yeah, I'm a big believer in learning from like watching others do what you need to do. So I think that, like, for example, when we have to be ball boys or whatever for games in the big leagues side, like it's really beneficial to like watch those guys do what they do, because I mean, you don't want to be, you know, you don't want to copy their style or anything, but like obviously they got to where they are for a reason. Let's take notes of what it is that they're doing and apply it to our own. So I think that was something that I really learned well. So also, you know, just becoming friends with, you know, the older minor league guys is really good too, because they've had the years of experience that I have and what your life's going to be like. So that they also are really, really helpful in terms of that. What they say.
So who's like your throwing partner and everything right now?
So right now, his name is Zach Eflin. He's a pitcher for the Phillies this year. He graduated from Haggerty High School, which is the rival of the high school I went to, Oviedo, and he also has the same agent as I do, Tom O'Connell. And he's a really, really, really good mentor. He's also an amazing golfer. He's a scratch golfer, probably the best golfer I've ever seen play before. So he also helps me in that respect as well. But yeah, he 6'5", you know, very similar build to me. I've actually come to know him a lot better recently, just as a friend, and I've really, really started to learn a lot from him, especially just on the mental side and the routine side of baseball and just being a professional. And I mean, he's a really awesome guy, and he's probably poised to have a really big year this year. So I'm really excited for him. Yeah, he's a really good young up and coming pitcher. But
So what level is he at right now?
he's an MLB. He's an MLB player.
Really?
Yeah. He's the
in the
number
show.
3 starter for the Phillies.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that.
Zach Eflin.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Shout out. For anybody who doesn't know, tell them like what level you're at right now, and you know what you're kind of expecting this season, what you're you know, doing to prepare and stuff.
Yep. So the first year that I got drafted in 2019, I got sent down to Fort Myers, which is rookie ball for the Red Sox, which is where all high school players go. I spent 3 months down there playing, which is it's a hard place to play in July and August and September in Fort Myers, Florida. It's 100 whatever degrees outside. Waking up at 6 o'clock every morning. They make it tough on purpose so that you want to get out of there and reach higher levels, which is pretty smart on their part. So I was there first year, and then this past year I was only in spring training when we got let go due to COVID. I was hoping to be in Greenville, South Carolina, which is our low A team last year, and this upcoming year they actually switched it around because we lost I don't know if you know, but they cut a lot of minor league baseball teams, and one of the teams they cut was the Lowell Spinners, which was our advanced low A or advanced rookie ball team, I guess. They're like a short season team, but they got cut, so they aren't a team anymore. And they actually switched around the low A and the high A team. So now Greenville is high A and Salem is low A, Salem, Virginia. So this upcoming year, my goal is to make to Salem, Virginia, and play there for my first real season of baseball in a long time, I might add, which is kind of crazy to think about because of Corona.
So how long has it been since you played?
I have not pitched in a competitive game since my last start for rookie ball in 2019. So August 2019, so a year and 5 months-ish, a year and a half since I've thrown in a competitive baseball.
How hard are you trying to throw?
Man,
Beginning of the season, what do you want the numbers to be?
honestly, I've always thrown so much harder in game situations than practice situations, and I've only been pitching in practice situations for the past year and a half. So I was up to 94 in instructional league for the first time with the Red Sox, and that was in a practice setting. So I'm really excited to go out there and throw in a game where I'm gonna have the adrenaline flowing and have the pregame routine down, and hopefully the numbers are jumping.
All right, so I want to talk. I don't want to talk too much about the movies or whatever, but I do want to talk about one more thing though.
Okay.
So you're a giant Star Wars fan.
Yep, huge Star Wars fan.
So what is, like, to anybody who has never seen Star Wars out there, what is the main attraction? Why would you tell people to watch Star Wars?
Wow. Oh man, there's so much to love about Star Wars. Like, I love a lot of things that like probably get overlooked in Star Wars. Like, well, maybe not get overlooked, but like obviously the fans like have things that they like. One thing that is awesome in Star Wars is the sound and the music. The scores on all of them are unbelievable. Honestly, the older ones are the best. Obviously, everyone agrees. And it's just like, if you realize when those movies were made and you look at what they look like they still stand like the test of time. Like, you can watch Star Wars right now, and it's very hard to pick out something that like doesn't look right from being so old. Like, there's a lot of movies we can watch and it's like, oh my gosh, like that's pretty bad. That's not great. Star Wars isn't really like that. Like, they use techniques that are still used today to film, which is incredible to think about being 1976 when the first one came out. Doesn't get better.
My only problem with Star Wars is, especially like in the Mandalorian series, there was a lot of like filler episodes.
Yeah.
There's a lot of just kind of like wasting time. In a sense, not wasting time, because it was still like kind of cool, but
I do agree with you. If I was a film critic and I was not, in love with Star Wars nostalgia, I probably wouldn't love Mandalorian as much as I do, but I do think it's a good show.
Are you one of those people that when you see, something in The Mandalorian,
I will freak out.
Yeah.
If I, like, for example, like, I don't know if you guys remember, but in this, I mean, you guys are going to know exactly what I'm talking about because it was at least all over my TikTok feed, but in the episode where they're flying the Slave One and they're trying to escape from the TIE fighters, and he drops the bomb out of the back and it makes that noise. It's like a really nostalgic Star Wars sound that like is loved by all Star Wars fans. So yeah, I swear. Oh, here, I'll find the TikTok for it because everyone is on the same page for that. Which is so funny.
For everybody that is, I guess, a Star Wars fan, hopefully
they definitely know what I'm talking about because my brother,
would they be like,
they would.
really
I promise you that as soon as I said the word Slave One in Mandalorian, they knew that I was talking about the sound that the bomb makes, because that's why Star Wars is so addictive for people, is that like there's such small specific things that people love. Like, for example, like the chessboard that they have on the Millennium Falcon is like some weird game. Like, people just love that. Like, I don't know why people love it so much.
They've got it figured out. Like,
It's pretty deep. Sorry.
No, that's good.
You'd be a really good movie critic. Yeah. I'm just gonna go to you whenever I need you to like analyze a movie for me.
Yeah,
Like,
I love. My favorite thing to do ever is to go to the movies with somebody and like sit outside of the movie theater and talk about the movie. So, I swear it's my favorite thing. But I have a friend. His name's Gavin. Equally as obsessed with these type of movie things as I am. He loves, Star Wars and whatnot. Anyway, we went and saw Interstellar in the theater during quarantine.
Banger.
They had $5 movies at the theater, and it was old movies. So it was like Interstellar and Inception and a bunch of great Christopher Nolan movies. And we went and saw. He'd never seen Interstellar. I'd seen it many of times. It's like probably one of my top 5 movies all time. But I saw it in theaters, and I had never seen it in theaters before, and I forgot how nice it is to see a movie in the theater when you get the whole sound experience and the giant screen. And I sat there, and I didn't watch the movie as much as I listened to the music in the movie. Which was crazy.
Felt the vibration.
I was inside of the theater thinking like, this, I could sit here and just listen to like an orchestra play this music and like I would be just as happy. Like, I didn't really need the movie itself. Obviously the movie was amazing and I learned a lot from it that time, being that I was, seeing it in theaters and it was kind of all my attention was devoted to it. Really, really good movie, Interstellar. Kind of teaches you like exploration, not giving up on dreams, kind of problem solving, really big problem solving movie. I don't know. I don't know if you know, but Christopher Nolan, when he made that movie, was like in constant contact with NASA and all of the head astrology, or no, what would you even call these people? Head theorists.
Astrophysicists.
Thank you. Head astrophysicist. Yeah. No, thank you. Head astrophysicist. So he actually worked with them. So most of the like theory in how they got to going like to another planet is pretty real stuff. Like maybe not necessarily proven, but at least what a lot of people think.
Scientifically.
Yeah,
it could
like
be
it's
possible.
pretty sound what they talk about in the movie of like where we could be. It's like what we're trying to be in terms.
So wait, Blake, you've got like shoe game and everything. You have a pair of Yeezys. You have everything. Like, let's go through your wardrobe. What are you rocking right now? Actually, describe to the people like your bag that you brought.
Are you a
to
hype beast?
Tallahassee.
You know what's funny is my nickname that my friend called me in high school was Hype Beast Louby, because I had just started to become like a hype beast, and I definitely was a hype beast as a senior. Like I was all about all the hype beast stuff. I would definitely say I'm not a hype beast anymore per se. I don't know. Actually, you know what? I definitely still am. I follow the account called Hype Beast. Do you follow them? It's like a
On
thing.
Instagram?
It's a yeah.
I followed them for a while,
Okay,
and then I probably unfollowed them like right when I got to college. I realized that I just like didn't want to be a hype beast. But go through the drip that you're wearing right now.
So I got on this Nike. It's not even a collab. It kind of looks like a collab, but it's just normal Nike brand called Peace Love Basketball. I got a nice yellow hoodie and some black joggers from them. Kind of like the oversized dress look, like baggy clothes. Kind of the in thing right now. I kind of like it. It's like more comfort based, just kind of like feeling relaxed. The thing that I love about fashion is like dressing for like style, but at the same time dressing for comfort and convenience. Like I want to get your guys' opinion on something actually in terms of fashion. So I have to spend some money at Gucci because I have like credit there, and I've been thinking about getting like a man type bag, like not necessarily like a man purse, but like yeah, it's called like a crossbody bag. It's like a across the chest, and then it has like a so that's about as hype as it gets. But at the same time, I am the most forgetful person, and I lose my stuff all the time. And I think that for me, it'd be really beneficial to just have that and just put my phone and wallet in there, and then just never have to like just always carry that and not have to have anything in my pockets where they can fall out.
Yeah.
It's like a fanny pack,
Yeah,
but like
it's
more
like
cool.
a fanny pack.
I mean,
yeah.
people wear like fanny packs like that
No,
too.
yeah.
That's also like a thing.
No, I know people do it. It's just like that's kind of hype beast-ish.
So wait, let's back up really fast, because how did you acquire credit at Gucci? Like how can I
I had a pair of glasses that it's actually the first purchase I made when I signed. I went to the Gucci store and I bought these glasses because I thought they were so cool, and I was wearing them, and the inside like plastic part that they go on your nose, the nose pieces, they came off, and I was like, okay, I'm not gonna pay this much money for glasses and just them break in the first year. So I took them and I was like, hey, like, can you fix these? They're like, oh, it takes a long time. I was like, okay, I don't care. Like, I just get other glasses for now. And then the person texted me and they're like, hey, like, we can get them fixed, or you can just take credit for them in store. And I was like, yeah, I'm just going to take the credit because I don't really want to wait 8 to 10 weeks for new glasses. So I got like $550 or something to spend at Gucci.
So you don't want to get glasses though anymore?
I don't really need the glasses. I like my Oakleys.
The Oakley Techs are
Just
sick.
get some like Ray-Bans.
Yeah, I was just gonna get some cheap beach glasses.
I peeped it. I didn't like
Yeah. So I was in Colorado and I was on vacation there, and I was hanging out, and this girl. This is like a month ago. Yeah, a month ago. And I was like, I was like, we were chilling there, we were sitting there, and she's like, hey, like, can I paint your nails? And I was like just so random, and I was like, why would I let you paint my nails? She's like, why not? Like, who cares? I was like, yeah, like, you're right. Why? Who fucking, like, who cares? You know, like, why does it matter if my nails are painted? Exactly. Why? I don't care if anybody else doesn't like my nails. So I did it kind of in spite of that, just because I wanted to prove to myself that I didn't care. And I think that's why I've kind of, felt a lot better recently about things, is like, I'm kind of not worried about all the things that I used to be worried about, and kind of just like living my life kind of how I want to, and not really with the, mentality of thinking about judgment that other people are laying down on me. Like, I went and played golf in this golf tournament, and one of the guys was like, dude, why are your nails painted? And I was like, I don't know, dude, like, it's a cool style. And he's like, well, that's fucking stupid. And I was like, it's like, okay, like, you telling me that does nothing. Like, what's the point? Like, it does not affect you at all if my nails are painted. So why does it matter? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know.
Physics has to say something about it.
Yeah.
No, but kind of going into that, I know that we've kind of talked about this, but how has it been dealing with kind of like, anxiety and everything going through? If you want to go into it, you can, like, going through the minor league process, kind of getting drafted and everything. Was that like a big change, or?
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, I think that something that should definitely be taken into consideration when somebody is making the decision between, pro ball and college is, are you ready for that on a maturity level? Because, like I talked about earlier, with baseball being a job, baseball becomes your job at that point, and it's like a lot more pressure falls upon you than you'd really realize, and your whole life kind of changes, and it's a lot for a 19-year-old, 18-year-old kid to be in that situation. And I definitely struggled a lot in the beginning dealing with all of that, and I think that, like, quarantine was, not a great help of, creating a lot of uncertainties and whatnot, and I just wasn't in a great place mentally thinking about baseball and what was going on. And I think that quarantine created this situation where I could kind of take a step back and be like, whoa, like I said, baseball isn't, the end of the world. Like, really, really good quote I saw from Charlie Morton. I'm not going to quote it directly because I don't know it, but they were talking to him about pitching before a game 7. And I was thinking about, if I was in that situation, like, what I would be thinking about right now if I was about to pitch the game 7 for the Rays. And they asked him, and they said, like, you've been so good in these situations. Like, how do you do that? Like, what is it? Like, what edge do you go out there with that you're thinking about? And he's like, honestly, like, I I treat it not only as every other game, but with a mentality of, the worst case scenario that can happen if I go out there and pitch is that I pitch bad. And you know what? We lose. And then I go home tomorrow and I'm with my family and we're shooting guns at the range. And it's like, yeah, that dude's a multimillionaire. He really does. I mean, he obviously cares. He wants to win the game, right? But, like, in his mind, deep down, it's like, worst case scenario, I'm still here living an amazing life. Like, it's not everything. It's not baseball. Baseball is not everything. It's a game that's played for fun. And it is a job, and it obviously is beneficial to be good at it. But to be good at it, you have to believe that it's not everything. Because when baseball becomes everything is when you press way too hard, and you will fail every time. Because you will put way too much pressure on yourself, and you will instantly turn and fold.
And then you have nothing.
And then
you have nothing.
And then
after
baseball
that.
was everything.
Yeah.
When baseball is everything, when you don't have it, you have nothing. Whereas I've kind of taken this as, like, baseball's like the third or fourth thing for me. That's like it's like God, family, friends, baseball. Like, obviously baseball is important to me, but, like, I got a lot of other things that are way more important to my life as, being a happy person, I guess. Happiness is the goal, right? You want to live a happy life. Like, my happiness stems from baseball, but it stems from a lot of other way more important things first.
Yeah, especially because it's not as permanent
Exactly.
as like
Yeah,
other things
baseball's
are.
only gonna be here until I'm 40, hopefully.
And kind of just going off what we were talking about like right before, but doing things to kind of show who you are as yourself. Have you found yourself kind of a little bit more happy too?
Oh my gosh, yes. That's such a good point because I think, it really, I'm not going to say it's all about fashion, but like, fashion's a great way for me personally. I think that's why I've come to like it so much to express myself in a way. Like, I've always kind of felt like I've been like shielded in terms of like my real interests and hobbies. Like in high school, I'm not going to go up and, talk to my friends about Star Wars, Clone Wars, and, building Legos and stuff. Whereas now it's like, that's what makes me me. I love talking about it, and especially in terms of fashion, like I love like showing myself through that. So I'll wear a Star Wars shirt or like, um, I love this Nike sweatshirt that I have because it's just like about peace and basketball and just like having a good time and I don't know, just a lot of stuff that I wear is like a lot of stories behind like why like I have this Zelda shirt that I love and like a lot of stuff comes from places where it just like means a lot to you and I love like expressing like myself through fashion especially.
What percent of the money that you've made so far have you spent on fashion?
Too much. Yeah, way too much.
But it's kind of like an investment, right? You can like sell this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to buy things that are like kind of
That will kind of
rare. Yeah. I tend to try to make a little bit smarter investments in terms of the clothing and shoes that I buy. Like I try to buy stuff that, not that it really matters how much it's worth, but like if there did come a time when I needed to sell off all of the things that I own.
Yeah, no, I recently got kind of into the stock market like in the fall, and you were way ahead of me on that. And yeah, you said that you've been in it too. Obviously you don't need to like go into that, but what's kind of like the biggest thing with that?
Just like learning it like at a young age is super important. Like right now, like people that are our age, I think it's not super important. Like really be diving into investing and whatnot, but just having a really good basic general understanding of it at this age is like super important because the skills that are in it are like really beneficial for a lot of things in life. And I mean, the earlier you get started in investing, the absolute, you're going to have way better outcomes. I think I kind of got blessed in that way because I kind of had a situation where I had, money at a young age to where I can invest at a young age. And also a lot of people who are like on my side and, giving me great advice. Like my agent hooked me up with an awesome financial advisor that I can go to for all sorts of questions. And he helps me with investing. And I think that I learned a lot from them, kind of earlier than most people because I was kind of in this situation of being an adult and like paying for my own bills a lot earlier than a lot of people.
What's the biggest mistake athletes make?
They buy expensive brand new cars or they spend money that they don't have yet. I don't know. I think that people are a lot better off right now than they ever have been. Like it's so easy to have financial advisors that people are way smarter with their money because honestly, no athlete really does anything themselves with their money. Like other people are taking care of it because their job is to go out there and throw strikes or hit bombs. It's not to go and invest money in.
It's crazy how you have like a whole team behind you.
Yeah. And the team only gets bigger as you get better. It's like right now it's at its smallest and it just grows as you get more and more famous.
Yeah. All right. Well, we dove into kind of the concluding question at the beginning. But I'd like to, kind of make it a tradition to have this as the concluding question of the podcast. But what does being ahead of the count mean to you?
Oh wow, is that really? That's the final question.
Is the final question?
Wow. So I asked the final question the first.
Right off the bat.
That's funny.
But
what does being ahead in the count mean to me? Like I said, I mean, it's setting yourself up for future success. Because being ahead in the count, you haven't made that strikeout pitch yet. It's not over. You haven't struck the batter out. He's not walking back to the guy. He's still there. He still has a chance. And I think that being ahead in the count by setting yourself up with, going to school or just, gaining a bunch of knowledge about what it is you want to get into is like super important. And I think for me, just like grinding really, really hard at what it is that you want to do for like, but that's the thing is it's different for every single person. It's like for me, what does being a head account mean? It means going out and working out every single day, throwing every single possible chance I need to. That's what being a head account for me, because that is what's gonna set me up for most future successes. And I think that depending on what situation you're in, it can be completely different. Whether you want to be a doctor, being a head account might mean, hey, I volunteer at this hospital for the summer or whatever. And I think that a lot of people know that there are opportunities out there to better themselves, and they're like, oh, they give excuses for why it didn't happen. Most of the time, if you want to make something happen,
Blake, it was a pleasure.
Yeah,
Appreciate you being episode 1.
Yeah.
It was awesome. Great
It's
visit.
good talking. Covered a lot of
Have to
ground.
We'll have to catch up, mid-season or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
And,
I feel like after the season would be a great time too, like with my first experiences and stuff.
Yeah, definitely. We want to have you on as much as possible. So
Sounds good.
yeah, shout out your social media for everybody that wants to follow you.
Blake _Louby on Instagram, and then my Twitter is just Blake Loubier at Blake Loubier.
All right, and I'll have that on the tag and everything too. But yeah, thanks again. All right, everyone, we appreciate you guys listening. Hopefully, we will have visuals soon. But
Let us know what you guys thought.
like, subscribe, all that jazz. See you next time.